Esta estrategia me parece una auténtica locura. Comprar y vender, llegas a un horario de trading, tú lanzas un buy stop y un sell stop, no te casas con nada, te da igual la dirección del precio y bueno, te vas a llevar una de las dos, o sea, es decir, ganarás 3 en una y perderás una en otra. Me parece una auténtica locura esta estrategia para pasar los challenges. Bueno, gente, vamos con el siguiente vídeo. Vamos a ver un canal mal pensados, ya he dicho, hablo de cuentas, no seáis mal pensados. Vamos con un canal que realizan una entrevista a un chico que ya habíamos analizado su canal y su estrategia. Por aquí me pone la berenjena. Antes, en el canal secundario, de hecho fue una estrategia que alguno de vosotros la empezó a probar. Yo dije, yo de momento no la voy a probar, estoy muy tranquilo con mi sistema, me funciona muy bien. Yo hace mucho tiempo que lo vengo diciendo. Raro que yo pruebe una cosa nueva, a excepción de Magala, del Scorsese, del mafioso. Pero vamos con un trader que ya hemos analizado en el canal. Tenía una estrategia para apertura de Londres, que se llamaba 2 en 1, creo, que era, ponía unas buy stops y unos sell stops, y según por donde tiraba, daba una estrategia que siempre iba a un ratio 3-1. Pues bueno, vamos a ver el canal en concreto de Trading Nuts, que este es un canal bastante grande, ya lo hemos visto alguna vez, de 166.000 suscriptores, es un canal bastante grande. Trading Nuts suele hacer bastantes entrevistas, y bueno, de hecho es este chaval de aquí, que ya os digo, no recuerdo el canal, tendría que ir al canal secundario y revisar la estrategia. Ya sabéis que llevamos cientos y cientos de vídeos reaccionados, y esta estrategia la detecté en Forex Factory y luego en su canal. Aquí nos está diciendo que ha ganado un 19% en 19 días. Muchas gracias por la sub, John. Así me gusta. Y vamos a ver una entrevista rápidamente. Vamos a ir saltando por trozos. De hecho, vamos a ver los puntos más importantes. Creo que aquí hay un índice de la entrevista. Vamos con la introducción y luego vamos a ir directamente a la estrategia que está utilizando, porque este chico tiene varias cuentas de fondeo y es una estrategia que le sirve para superar las cuentas fondeadas rápidamente, ¿vale? Así que nos interesa esto.
Guardian, the fastest growing prop firm in 2023.
Plus 14, plus 17, plus 20. And then we get a minus 1 in here. You wouldn't take both of these, you'd only take one. So we've got, what, 19% in 19 days, essentially, right? Almost 20%.
Correcto,
We've definitely got...
La que le metía para arriba y para abajo, sí. Yo sé, me consta que hay gente que le está funcionando muy bien, ¿vale? O sea que vale la pena retomarlo porque lo ha demostrado, tiene varias cuentas fondeadas este chico, 19% de rentabilidad, luego nos lo va a enseñar en 19 días. Un 19% de rentabilidad en 19 días es una locura, Quizá aquí sois... a ver, vamos a ver, es una locura, o sea, ya no es un pura sangre, este es halcón milenario, ¿vale? Así que vamos a verlo. Utiliza Smart Money, por cierto.
A 10% challenge pass, an 8% challenge pass in there as well, even a 5% verification pass in there too. And this is all with one pair, trading just 2 time frames. Super simple, very rule based, very mechanical, and yeah, go back test it.
Folks, welcome back to Trading. We've got Scott from Evolution Markets in the house. He's about to share with you a strategy based on the video that he recorded with us last time, which was a 3-to-1 ICT based strategy that you can do if you hate your day job. So Scott, welcome back to the show.
Hey man, thanks for having me back.
Hey, do you want to tell the guys a little bit about you first, and then we'll dive into the strategy?
Yeah, so if you haven't watched the previous video we did a few months back, go and watch that. Basically, I'm a founder of Evolution Markets. We help traders that work a 9-to-5 or have busy lifestyles with a mechanical and simplified strategy using 2 pairs, 2 time frames, and 2 indicators.
Y 2 indicadores.
Brutal. And how have things gone? I mean, you're only on here like 3 months ago. I mean, how have things progressed? Your students, are they finding success? What's happening there?
Absolutely. I mean, since word has just spread, one person finds out about the strategy, they realize how simplified and mechanical and low discretion the model is, and they find success and they go and tell 5-10 people. So we've definitely had a rush in the door.
Perdonad que interrumpa, pero os voy a decir una cosa. Esta estrategia, el día que yo reaccioné, sinceramente me gustó mucho. La vi muy coherente, muy fácil de aplicar y me gustó mucho. Y 3 meses después nos sale esta entrevista, unos meses después nos sale esta entrevista. Yo creo que reaccioné hace más meses y con resultados demostrados. y con mucha gente que me consta, yo he seguido el hilo de Forex Factory, que les está funcionando muy bien. De verdad que me estoy planteando empezar también a probar esta. La del Sergei Magala, ya os aviso, me da muy pocas entradas, una a la semana, lo cual, ¿qué hago? ¿Qué hago? Bueno, sí, hago mi operativa, lógicamente, pero me da tiempo para probar otras estrategias, lógicamente a lotajes ínfimos, hasta que encuentre la práctica, pero creo que me voy a plantear el probar esta estrategia también. Si queréis que la pruebe, como yo la mismo estoy probando en el Sergei Magala, sabéis que yo las estrategias no os las traigo hasta que sé usarlas y gano con ellas, ya lo sabéis. Por ejemplo, la Silver Bullet, yo nunca os la he traído, la Silver Bullet. Yo siempre he reaccionado. Y siempre os he dicho lo mismo, tío, no le encuentro el punto a la Silver Bullet. Por eso no la he traído todavía. Sabéis que yo cuando encuentro una estrategia y me funciona y me va bien durante muchas operaciones, 20, 30, 40 operaciones, no me pidáis un año de track record de la operativa y tal y que te lo ponga en bandejita. No, eso no lo voy a hacer, ¿vale? Yo te voy a decir, pues he hecho 20, 30, 40 operaciones y más o menos el resultado es esto. Si queréis que la pruebe, dejádmelo aquí en el chat y dejádmelo en comentarios cuando veáis este vídeo en diferido, porque yo la voy a probar. De hecho, lo he decidido ahora mismo, lo voy a probar y os voy a mantener en el chat, como siempre, en el Telegram, que sepáis que en la descripción del vídeo siempre tenéis el Telegram a la comunidad que está abierta para todo el mundo, y iré explicando, al igual que hoy he dicho la del euro-yen con Sergei Magala, con la estrategia Scorsese, también voy a probar esta, me voy a enterar muy bien cómo funciona. Esta entrevista me gusta mucho, de todas formas no la vamos a ver entera porque dura 1 hora el vídeo, pero me voy a poner a ella. Me gustó mucho en su día y hoy confirmo que me gusta más.
Which has been awesome to see because we want to impact as many people as possible. And not only that, since the last time I came on, we've had probably close to about 800 or 900 students come through the door and learn the strategy. And of that, we had over 100 students gain funding for the first time. And a lot of them that had funding before but never achieved a payout.
FTMO, bien. Nova Funding, esta me han hablado bien. Y MyFunded FX también me han hablado bien. Hostia, muy bien.
Taking like significant payouts. We're talking like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in a
7.000 pavos. ¡Oh! 32.000. Nicholas Harrington. Brutal, tío. Qué bueno, qué bueno. Ah, mira, tengo la piel de gallina, os lo juro, 32.000 pavos. Es mucha pasta, mucha pasta. 32.000 pavos es mucha pasta.
Month as a payout.
Los 7 me impactan, pero son asequibles, son muy asequibles los 7. 32 es un tío duro, es un Pegaso, como decís por aquí.
Which has been incredible to see the amount of messages I've been getting from within the community and those even watching the free YouTube content, to be honest, saying that we've changed the way that they look at the markets and it's helping them no end is incredible. That's what it's all about.
Cool. Well, look, what we're going to do today, folks, is we're going to see the tweak to the strategy that Scott dropped the last time on the channel. So there's a new part to it. So we're going to see that, and we're actually going to put him to test and get him to do a back test challenge using TradingView's replay mode. So, Scott, do you want to share your screen, and we'll get this thing set up?
Vale,
absolutely. Let's get into it.
Right, guys, so we've got Scott's screen in front of us here. Now, what we're going to do is get him to minimize these candles right down and go back in time. So, Scott, do you want to do that? Just bring them down.
Por aquí me dice Real Dark que le está probando la Silver Bullet y más o menos la está pillando el truqui con los Silver Bullet. Tiene que ser el tamaño del balance en el FTMO, se puede tener 400k, igual 32k. Es un montón enorme. Sí, joder, a ver. Mira, yo te digo una cosa. Yo gano bien. Pero el salto este a 32 para mí es una cifra rica, ya os lo digo, rica. Pero yo necesito mi tiempo para evolucionar. Es decir, si estoy en 5, pasar a 7, 9, 12, 15... Porque yo como en una operación yo empiezo a ver 12 y 15, la cierro, tío. O sea, mi mente necesita tiempo. Es como una relación, ¿vale? Tú tienes que ir poco a poco, ¿no? El café, sabes a cenar, conoces a la chica y tal. Necesito lo mismo, tío. Si no, yo psicológicamente, yo me conozco y como vea pasta, la cierro y me la llevo, ¿sabes? Pero bueno, vamos al lío.
Flat as you can and minimize them down. Okay, right, now you're going to hit bar replay mode at the top and we're going to go back. Now you can't probably go back too far because you need 15-minute data, so that'll probably do. Okay, now you're going to make them big again, and let's have a look at this test and see how you get on.
Awesome.
Our sponsor, Blue Guardian's the only prop firm that gives their traders a tool to protect them from hitting their max daily loss and overtrading. It's super simple to use. Just set the Guardian Protect.
First, make sure we're not missing anything out. Versus the medium and the high probability trades. So how do we do this? We actually use these dots over here. You can use anything you want. And first of all, defining where the shift in momentum first came about. So we can start with the highest point, which we can see is up here. And whenever you've marked a high or a low, just use a line. Use a solid line like this. And then we want to have a look backwards. We want to go back in time first, make sure we're not missing anything out. Just make that a bit smaller. This is definitely another high. If we put a line across there, we can also see that this first one I printed was the second high out of this. How do we mark where the low is in all of this? You've got all these lows. So we're not using fractals for this. One hack is to start on the first high and draw all the way around to the next one and pick the lowest point, which is here. So there's your low. Then we can pull back and we can see, okay, well, there's definitely a high here. How can I confirm that? By drawing a line and seeing that that's been broken and that extended to this point. And again, where's the low? So if you draw from here all the way around to here, where's the lowest point? It's down here.
Ah, sí, tenía un nombre la estrategia. Tú, 2 en 1, algo así. En el canal, luego vamos un momentito al canal secundario, lo buscamos, que no me acuerdo, pero bueno, lo está volviendo a explicar. Tom Scott, ¿cómo se llama el chico? Tiene canal de YouTube y lo explica todo allí. De todas formas, lo está volviendo a explicar aquí.
So there's the low. Now for momentum to confirm and momentum to shift, which is the same thing really, we need either...
Cambia aquí, ¿no? A ver, ayudarme un poco. Allí está el... Aquí no genera un nuevo máximo. O sea, aquí hay un bajo, no genera nuevo máximo. El cambio del impulso, en teoría, estaría aquí, ¿no? En este punto, ¿no? Entiendo. Aquí estaría el segundo bajo, ¿no? O este o este. No sé vosotros, ¿eh? El primero o el segundo. Ponérmelo aquí.
2 higher highs for a bullish shift in momentum, or 2 lower lows for a shift in bearish momentum. So what...
Lo acaba de decir. 2 máximos más altos para impulso alcista, 2 bajos más bajos para impulso bajista. Por lo tanto, este es uno y este sería el segundo. Este sería el segundo. Yo creo que va así, ¿eh? The Power of 3 se llama. Se va a llamar The Power of 3.
What we got here, we got 1, 2, 3 higher highs. So far we know that momentum's to the upside. We can see here that price fails to continue. Now where's the low point?
¿Vale?
The low point is over here. So only when that breaks do we then consider a shift in momentum to the downside. This is all internal, right? This is all internal. We can look for fractals.
Qué buena forma de marcar estructura, ¿eh? La segunda fractalidad, el que rompe el mínimo que está más arriba. El primero. Qué buena forma de marcar la estructura, ¿eh?
Tools and stuff inside of here for buys, and that would play out. Vale. There'd be a buy in here, a buy here, but then eventually price would fall to the downside, right? Turn fractals back off.
Power of 2. Power of 2, exactamente. Correcto, gracias, Gustav. Power of 2 se llama la estrategia. Hostia, qué crack sois, tío. Qué memoria tenéis. Yo ya no me acordaba, ¿eh?
Now, to identify a quick, easy shift in momentum, we use a different color.
Pues usamos un color diferente, ¿vale?
Why would I do that? Because you want to make trading as simple and quick as possible. You don't want to be staring at the chart for 30 minutes to do an analysis on a pair. You want it to be more like 30 to 40 seconds, right? So this is the first lower low since the bullish momentum kicked in.
Yo os he dicho que es el segundo, la confirmación, ¿eh? Alguno ha dicho el primero, yo he dicho el segundo. El primero es muy precipitado, necesita el segundo para confirmar. Vamos, yo lo hacía, ya lo sabéis por el curso, 2 sell sides irrespetadas o 2 buy sides irrespetadas, para mí sería un giro de la estructura. Aquí lo hace de esta forma.
We draw a line, we use the same rules. Once that breaks,
¿vale? Otro bajo.
There's our second lower low. So that's where we're confirmed we've now got a bearish market.
¿Vale?
So we can continue printing these lower lows and lower highs now.
Vale.
Highest point.
Sí.
We get a break again. That just continues down here.
Okay.
Highest point is the high.
Vale.
At this point, when it gets a little wicky, it can be a little bit more difficult. But if you get a single wick like this, I won't count that. And if you switch over to a line chart, it doesn't show it anyway.
Amigo.
So this would...
Cuando es una wick, ¿vale? No, como que no lo tiene tan en cuenta, ¿vale? Que cierre por debajo, ¿vale? Y entonces ha cambiado al gráfico lineal. Buen truco.
My low, trail back to the highest point, there's the high.
Vale.
And again, finally, one more time, print a new low,
vale.
And back to the highest point.
Perfecto.
There is our structure. So we put a line at the bottom,
vale.
Showing that's our swing low, and a line at the top to show that's our swing high.
Okay.
So we can see that we are within a bearish trend right now. Momentum is to the downside.
Vale, sí.
We can even stick an arrow there to remind us.
Vale.
Now let's turn the fractals back on. The next part and the last part for deciding on directional bias is using the 4-hour interaction points. So we can see this candle actually is the high and the low of the range. So using a GAN box,
vale.
We want to print on here. And we can see that price on the 1st of June has breached the high. So there's a few directional bias scenarios. For those of you that have not watched my content before, that don't know the strategy, who haven't seen the previous interview and technical video that I did with Trading Nut a few months ago, we have follow through, which is a continuation. We have no follow through, which is essentially a reversal. And we also have strong follow through, which is like follow through, but it shows that we're not anticipating price to pull back, and we can continue that higher momentum in whichever direction that's going in. So the fact that this is interactive.
Atención a lo que ha dicho, que juega para cualquier dirección, que para donde vaya le va a tirar. Vamos a ver con qué nos sale, Vamos a ver con qué nos sale. Qué buena, me está gustando mucho.
With this high is now we want to start to look at how candles are forming to identify which of those three scenarios we have, or are we unconfirmed. So for a follow through, we're going to need two bullish candles above this fractal. For a strong follow through, we want two consecutive body close bullish candles with no prior wick close and no bearish candle in between. For no follow through, we want a bullish candle followed by a bearish candle. That would be for sells, or we can just have a wick, which you can see here. A wick like that would be no follow through. So no surprise, it continued south.
Quiere mecha. Esto Michael lo explicaba, el tema de las mechas y los cierres.
Following that momentum. So if we got one bullish candle right now, that's unconfirmed. We need to wait for one more
mechote.
Candle to close. So we'd be sitting on our hands, not doing anything, doing other things, working, looking after our kids, drinking coffee, going to the gym, right? Or looking at other pairs if that's what you want to do. So what's it done? It's done a couple of things. First of all, we're extending our range higher. Second, we're marking our most recent interaction. We've now had two consecutive body closes with no bearish candle in between and no prior wick close, so we are strong follow through. Okay. The second thing it's done is it's taken a swing high out, but only one. So we're marking a green dot. Now a singular high does not confirm a shift in bullish momentum, because that could easily be just a liquidity grab. We're printing lower lows, lower highs. We get a higher high, takes liquidity and falls to the downside. So in this scenario, we can still look for sells. What is our directional bias based on the interaction? It's a strong follow through to the upside. This means that we are looking for buys immediately, but also in premium, we can look for counter sells. And the reason we can counter sell is because momentum is to the downside. So it's a medium probability setup for sells and a medium probability for buys. So we also want to move this over. We have a new swing high point, which we'll just mark on here, and just dragging that up helps us to identify where that range is. So let's get on to the 15 minute. Now on the 15 minute, again, if you've not seen this strategy before, you've not seen me teach this on YouTube, we have fractals as an indicator for our entry model, And we have kill zones as our indicator to decide when we are going to trade and when we're not. So for London, we've got 7:30 till 10 a.m.
Correcto, yo lo que veo que simplemente está analizando el precio y esperando la mejor oportunidad. Correcto, no descarta nada de momento, sí.
UK time, and New York, we've got 1 till 3:30 UK time. Anything outside of that, we're not trading, right? Now let's just fast forward this because we're not trading Asia, although quite a few of our students do that are over in the US or Canada or Australia that do like to trade yen pairs or Aussie dollar works well over Asia. I myself don't trade Asia because I'm in the UK and I like to sleep. So let's just move this. What's it done is it just extended that range. You see, we've had no new fractal interaction. We're just extending this range. We're still within this. Momentum's still bearish, but short term, we're looking for buys, following that directional bias. So London has started now. Now the next thing we want to do on the 15-minute is mark out where our 15-minute external range is. So you want to pick a point which is quite easy to spot, drag this across, and you can see it breached the high here during Asia. So we're dragging this up to recent price, and then the lows to the most recent fractal. When does it breach again? Here, before London starts. Where's the most recent fractal low? Here. So for entry model, we want a sweep of the 15-minute high for counter sells, or a sweep of the 15-minute range low for buys, or we can get a print of an internal most recent fractal, which we don't have yet. Now let's see what happens. Now in a strong follow through scenario, especially if we're pro momentum, this is the only scenario we will look for both buys and sells in the same region. Usually it's either one or the other.
Compras y ventas. Brutal, tío. Brutal. Vamos a ver.
Here's a most recent internal fractal sweep. I would right click and I would put an alert on this.
Template.
I would also have an alert on the high range. So let's see what happens. Okay, so this is where the alerts would hit. This is what, 8:30 in the morning. So my kids would be leaving the house or just about left the house by now. My trading view alerts would be going off. So I'd be like, see you later kids. I'm gonna go check the charts. And typically it gives you enough time to go and manually execute. I don't use a trade assistant. There's no need for it with this strategy.
All right, folks, I'm here at Blackpool Markets headquarters in Auckland, New Zealand. You can see this amazing view behind me of Auckland Harbour. Now, talking about views, if you do want to get free TradingView Pro, then all you need to do is try out more. Click.
Stop loss is over a maximum sizing. So for EU and dollar Swiss, it's maximum 20 pip stop loss. GU, it's maximum 30. And for us on EU and dollar Swiss, we also want to use a buffer of between 1 and 2 pips. So if this is 14.9, pretty much 15, we would use a 16 pip stop loss. Just using some buffer. On GU, it would be up to 2-3, right? We can trade beyond the range on this because we don't have a 4-hour.
Vale, pone el buy stop, me parece, chicos. El buy stop encima de la vela.
Fractal form here.
Vale.
So we would set a pending buy stop order and we would have a 3-to-1 risk reward ratio. It's always 3-to-1 with this strategy. We're not moving our stop loss, we're not taking partials, we're not moving to break even. It's either a TP at 3-to-1 or a -1, right? So let's see what happens. We need to be tagged into the trade for it to be valid. Now, what we can see is it prints a lower low. So that invalidates this initial trade, so we remove that order. But it's still giving us a buy signal. This is our third entry model. The first one, you've seen all three in here, we just haven't been tagged yet. The first one is most recent internal fractal sweep. We had it, but we're not tagged on this. The second one is the external range sweep. We had it in the same candle, but again, there's no tag on this. The third and last entry model is an extended sweep. So when we're looking for buys, as long as it's still inside session, and it creates a lower low, we can take a buy off of that candle. If it's for sells, it's the other way around. We want consistent high, right? If we get an inside bar or it produces a higher low, it would not be valid. So again, same thing. This allows us to get in with a tighter stop. So 6, let's make it 7.
¡Qué locura!
Same rules apply. We can go.
Vale, el primer modelo era la vela, barre hacia abajo, como, ¿vale? Como vela de engaño, y sitúa en el primer modelo un buy stop por encima de la vela generada. Como la siguiente vela ha salido bajista, de nuevo prepara otro modelo de entrada y corre el buy stop. Creo que estoy
for 3 to 1
a la siguiente vela.
Above the high.
¿Ok?
Now, just to add in there, it's always ideal if you can, even in this case with a strong follow through with no fractal high, to get in and out before the range high.
3-1.
It is, but it's valid to take it beyond if we don't have a fractal form yet. So let's see what happens. Let's take this trade. And also to know that even though we're in a buy position, we can still look for sells. So we're tagged into the trade now.
Vale, ha entrado.
Absolutely tagged into the trade. We want to start looking at, if we were looking to sell, what would we do? Well, here's that most recent internal fractal.
Vale, ahora está diciendo el caso si estuviéramos buscando la venta, ¿vale? En este caso estamos buscando la compra.
All right. If I use a different line so you can see. Here we go. So I'd right click, set an alert on that. And just because I'm in the buy, I'm not marrying that trade idea. I have no...
No me jodas, dice que no se casa con esta idea. Entonces, ¿qué va a hacer? Compra y venta, las dos a la vez. ¡Hala! No me lo creo, tío.
Expectation or anticipation of any individual singular trade to go and win.
¿Qué creéis que va a hacer? Yo creo que sí, que le va a lanzar entonces, le va a poner el sell stop aquí debajo, ¿no? ¿O qué? Yo creo que le va a poner el sell stop aquí debajo, ¿sí o no? Hostia, no lo sé, ¿eh? ¿Qué decís vosotros? Hostia, qué cabrón. No lo sé. Vamos a ver.
When you have to have a large enough sample size, like even 10 trades arguably is not really enough to show consistency, profitability, or a win rate that's sustainable. You need to go over 2 to 3 months minimum to then say, okay, this is the win rate on that. Was I consistent in my actions? You need at least 3 months for that, in my opinion. But we're going to go over probably a couple of weeks on this. So I'm not marrying the bias for buys because I know that I can counter this because momentum's to the downside. I can still sell. So I'd set an alert on that internal fractal, which does get swept here. And it doesn't matter if it's a bullish candle, a bearish candle, a wick, a body, it still sweeps, right?
¿Qué os he dicho?
Now, that's a 9.4 to the top of the candle. We want to give at least 1 pip breathing space, so bringing it to 10.4 minimum. But we do have some extra coverage here, stop loss coverage. So we can move it just above. Let's round it up to 12 pips. And just giving it that extra bit of coverage here allows us to stay in the trade just in case it does come.
En serio, esta estrategia me parece una auténtica locura. Comprar y vender, llegas a un horario de trading, tú lanzas un buy stop y un sell stop, no te casas con nada, te da igual la dirección del precio y bueno, te vas a llevar una de las dos, o sea, es decir, ganarás 3 en una y perderás una en otra. Me parece una auténtica locura esta estrategia para pasar los challenges.
Come higher slightly, which would have taken us out of the original position if we had a tight stop, but it keeps us in just protection above here. It doesn't always happen, but when we get it, we will use that added protection. So 3 to 1 on the sell is a 12 pip stop loss. Our max is 20, so we're well within that. And we've now got 2% risk exposure, which as a trade management rule is something that we adhere to. So we're not going to go and add a third position until one of these goes and TPs. And ideally they both close out. So we're tagged into the short. We're outside of London kill zone now. Doesn't really matter what happens in New York yet. So we've got a -1 on the buy. Let's just move this out of the way. First trade -1. And we're moving our 15-minute range now. We're dragging it. That's been breached again. To current price. And we follow this down. We've got New York here.
¡Buah! Se la llevó.
Nice drop lower. No new fractal form yet.
Se la llevó.
Now we've got a new fractal high, you see?
No, se la lleva o no se la lleva. Se la lleva o no se la lleva.
Now we're not looking for buys here because this candle which swept the low is huge. We won't get a 20 pip stop loss or less on that. I can tell without even looking at it. And there's no extended sweep. Like I say, if it does not print a lower low, it's invalid. It's an inside bar. So we'd want a sweep of this New York high, this fractal high, to get in for a sell again. What have we got here? We've only got 1% risk exposure right now. So if you're not in the first trade, you can take the second. This is the beauty of it. Sometimes you miss trades. 4.7, 14.7, so we'll go 15.7. And what I'm going to do, if we don't have stop loss coverage like this through the whole video, I'm just going to use a 1 pip stop loss buffer on every single trade, just to show some consistent rules on that. Some consistent rules, sorry. So 3 to 1. I'll talk about what this red zone is in the future of this video, so hang around for that.
Vale.
So we get a sweep, we get no tag, it pushes higher, so we remove that order and we place another one on this candle when it closes. So again, 15.5 on the stop loss, 3 to 1. Now you might want to market execute on this. It's very rare that we do market execute orders, but you can see the close is right on entry. So you'd probably want to just market execute and then copy paste your stop loss into MT4, MT5. Doesn't take long. And there you go. You'd be kicking yourself if you were hanging around for that. Although in this case, you could place a limit, a sell limit, and sometimes price can come back if you've missed a trade. If the trade's still valid, which it is until it's hit TP or stop loss, that trade is still valid. And as long as you're inside kill zone, which you wouldn't be now, by the way, but you could set a limit on this. If you were inside kill zone, price might want to come back and tag you in. Okay, so now again, we're looking for buys anywhere because we've got strong follow through, directional bias.
Yo por el momento no puedo con eso. Yo no podría. Qué tensión. En gráfico de 15 minutos. Tiempo te da, ¿eh? Yo no tengo estómago para operar eso. A ver, es como una estrategia. Toda estrategia al final te haces a ella, ¿no?
Let's not marry any individual trade idea. Yes, we're short. Yes, we're up 2%, and we're running 2% on this one as well. It's not locked in. We have 2% locked in. We got 1 loss and 1 win. This is a candle which swept. If I add this on here. But you can see with a 19, we'd be looking at 20 pips maximum stop loss usage here. And also 1.79. So we're not
haciendo cobertura todo el rato. O sea, va una. O sea, la que le va haciendo cobertura todo el rato. Qué absoluta locura de estrategia. La Virgen, a 1% tendría que estar bajo efectos de alucinógenos. ¡Qué barbaridad! Yo la veo complicada. Yo a estas alturas la veo, claro, es como toda estrategia, yo ahora la veo imposible de ejecutar por mi parte. O sea, llegar al punto de, vale, llego al punto, identifico todo esto, tal. Hostia, qué virgen santa, qué complicado. Pero bueno, estamos viendo que es una estrategia muy efectiva. Bueno, yo voy a cortar aquí el vídeo porque es que si no, tenemos más vídeos que ver y si no, nos vamos a quedar sin tiempo. Aquellos que os queráis ver el resto del vídeo, por cierto, os voy a dejar en vídeos relacionados, os dejaré el vídeo a esta entrevista para que lo podáis ver y mi vídeo del reaccionando anterior, que si bien recuerdo era la misma estrategia, era exactamente lo mismo, está repitiendo el mismo sistema. Yo lo que tengo claro, conclusiones de esta estrategia, este chico lo tiene muy claro cómo debe operar, o sea, es decir, a cada acción que ha hecho el precio dice, no, esto ahora tengo que actuar así, 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 así. Es una estrategia realmente loca que utiliza el Smart Money y con operaciones para ganar 3 a 1 y tú vas tirando operaciones en todo un horario de trading y vas haciendo 3 a 1, pierdes una, 3 a 1, pierdes una. Me parece una brutalidad de estrategia, yo la veo hiper mega complicada, no sé. He dicho al principio que la iba a aprender, pero de momento me he arrepentido. Cambio de opinión, ¿vale? Como cambio de opinión. Me lo voy a pensar un poquito más, gente. La verdad que está muy complicada. Os voy a leer. Yo duré 3 años en las apuestas deportivas y hacer esto se llama surebets. Hostia, llegado el punto sí, pero es frenética de cojones. Es muy frenética. Es el mismo vídeo. ¿Es el mismo vídeo? Sí. Yo no sé si es el mismo vídeo, ¿eh? Yo creo que lo está haciendo en vivo en esta entrevista. Bueno, gente, muy buena entrevista, por si queréis saberlo. Es el canal de Trading Nut, que hace muchas entrevistas, un canal muy grande. Me ha gustado mucho, así que like al vídeo, le dejaré luego mi awesome. Así que muy buen vídeo, muy buena estrategia, espero que os guste, dejad tus comentarios. Y ahora sí, vamos al siguiente vídeo.